All right, man. It's crazy to think that we almost catching up to the most recent thinking basketball video. We almost catching up, man. We almost catching up. So, hey, man, we're just gonna keep on. You know what I'm saying? Working hard, keep grinding. First of all, how y'all doing? First of all, I just wanna make sure y'all good. Hope y'all doing good, staying healthy, all that great stuff, man. Listen, before we get in this video, I just want to say, from now till I want to say April 30th, it's gonna be a little bit of inconsistency as far as uploading videos. Mostly because this is that, you know what I'm saying, that range where I explained earlier, I'm trying to upgrade stuff. Yeah, man, I'm in the midst of that. So there's gonna be some inconsistency. And by inconsistency, I mean there's not gonna be 3 videos a day. So I'm still gonna probably upload every single day, but it's probably gonna be like one, you know what I'm saying? 1 video, or if I miss a day, 2 videos, you know what I'm saying? But usually for those who are new, I used to upload 3 videos a day, you know what I'm saying? So 15 videos a week. But now it's kind of limited down to about 5 to 7 videos a week. But trust me, when I say trust me, once the upgrade is fully complete, by around May, we're gonna be up and going again, full speed. So I just want to let y'all know, you know what I'm saying, so y'all be on the same page. I don't want to leave nobody, you know what I'm saying, not knowing nothing, you know what I'm saying, just in case if I just happen to not be uploading. So, all right, bet, cool. Now, we got Thinking Basketball, episode 9, and this is Kobe Bryant, man. Shout out to the Black MAMBA mentality, RP Kobe, man, you know what I'm saying. But we're gonna see what's cracking lacking. You're new to the channel, make sure to hit this like button, you know what I'm saying. But if you also want to subscribe, you can if you want to. You don't have to, but you know, you can. But yeah, man, without further ado, let's get straight into the video. In 3, 2, 1, let's get it, man.
After Michael Jordan retired,
Hope
there
I'm
was
doing
a
good,
race
for real,
to
for real.
crown
Hope I'm doing
the heir
good.
apparent, the next dominant shooting guard who could score, pass, and
We
defend.
might react to Kevin
As we saw
McHale
last
next
episode,
week.
Kobe
so
certainly fit that bill when
give
he
him credit
was
for
young.
that.
360-degree dunks, wild
Hey!
shots, and some huge defensive plays under Phil
Come here,
Jackson's
kid.
tutelage.
Yes, sir.
And that led Bryant to be seen as a Michael Jordan redux because of his build and style. But the thing
Facts.
is, he wasn't the next Michael Jordan. He was the first Kobe Bryant.
Respect. I respect that statement.
Where's Larry Bird in all this? Has it blocked by Elijah Wan. Michael Jordan saves the day.
This series tackles one question: who was the best at his best? We start at the ABA merger and go through the
One thing I
best
think Kobe
multi-year
did
stretches, examining
compared
the
to
legends who
everyone
provided
was
the
that he
most
maximized
on-court impact.
everything.
These are the greatest.
Like, he used his, when he had like a 38 vertical, he used that vertical better than people who had like a 42-inch vertical.
This is my man. This is my man. This is Showboat. We call him Showboat, but y'all know him as Kobe Bryant. This is my main man. Mark my words. Now, and I said this earlier in the season. It's gonna be unbelievable.
Kobe was one of the most
Respect to him.
versatile,
His teammate.
robust scorers in league history. He was kind of like a scoring artist, painting the court in just about every way possible.
Yeah.
There were highlight finishes in the
Oh,
air,
hang time.
crafty, creative hoops. That's a street ball move in a playoff game.
What's that?
And everything else. Fadeaways
Wait,
with
come
his
here,
back to
Bron.
the basket,
Hey,
pull-up jumpers from the mid-range, pull-up jumpers from 3.
Kobe
even
Bryant, Ray
offense
Allen
that
rivalry
sent
was kinda
opponents
like-
straight to the
kinda
house
lit.
of highlights. To illustrate this scoring diversity, take a look at the shot charts of the leading
Yeah, Lakers
scorers
versus
around this
Celtics.
time. Larger hexagons mean more attempts, so you can see LeBron's largely rim dominant, and dark red indicates a higher shooting percentage compared to league averages. Now here's Kobe. For better, and sometimes worse, he scored from anywhere
Yeah.
and everywhere. Some of this blossomed out of
Hot spots
necessity.
all over the
He
court.
didn't have MJ's first step or LeBron's bionic size and strength at the hoop. In 2006, a 28-year-old Bryant had a good first step and fluid, high-level athleticism to build off of as a base. He was quick enough to punish slower players or big men out of water. He turned the corner on Tim Duncan like this a few times in the 2008 Western Finals. But he couldn't just blast by players like certain guards who relied on quickness. And it wasn't really acceleration that made Kobe a dangerous penetrator. He used craft, guile, and feel, a little hesitation to start a drive, and he loved this hard spin back at the rim. He heads right here but is cut off, so the spin sheds the defender, and then off the wrong foot adjusts under LeBron to finish.
Tough.
Here it is in transition, the hesitation, and then feeling the defender recover, he spins back hard and leads with his body for free throws. These counters took remarkable balance and body control along with great instinct.
For real.
Kobe was only around 6'5" barefoot, and he couldn't always elevate over defenders at the hoop. So instead he might absorb contact while contorting to release a shot, although that didn't work every time. Instead, he was snake-like at slithering into different angles to release the ball in traffic. His crossover was sharp enough to shake opponents, and Kobe senses a recovering Duncan and angles it right up on the glass. But this time the finish is different. He's strong enough to stay balanced without losing Bruce Bowen, but because Duncan is stationed under the hoop, Kobe throws his body into him and banks it at his apex. This is subtle, but his intuition helped him audible at the rim. When attacking big men in space, he liked that in and out dribble, and then altered his stride length as needed approaching the goal. Perhaps the ultimate example of his malleable finishing was his instinct for flowing to the other side of the rim, where he'd throw off a potential shot blocker's timing by striding into a reverse layup. Now, these hesitation moves were so effective because defenses were worried about his pull-up, and he could play these threats off each other. As the screen comes over, Duncan and Bowen are worried about this shooting pocket, and Bryant uses that against him with a nasty cross.
I had to use with a crossing by when the screen's
dribble
coming.
drive was enough to create airspace for his jump shot. Defenders had to sell out hard on his mid-range game, and that could be a problem for slower-footed opponents.
For sure.
Kobe had these fundamentals down. Note how many of his moves come from a triple threat position and involved up fakes or jab steps, and he was so proficient getting to his spot and then rising up.
Him and
he could also
T-Mac.
fire fairly accurate shots off
crazy.
a variety of setups, heading to his right or left from just about anywhere on the floor. That one was a long two, and Kobe trafficked in these jumpers just inside the arc, which made for impressive shot making, but also suppressed his overall scoring efficiency. From 2006 to 2008, he attempted more two-point shots outside of 15 feet than anyone in the NBA, but he only made 41% of them, which is exactly what the rest of the league made on these shots during that period. Kobe's scoring numbers during those seasons were the best of his career, but his efficiency lagged a touch behind some of the other huge volume scorers in this series, in part because he bled some value by not making those long shots worth 3 points when they went in. He was a bit ahead of the curve with his pull-up three-pointer, able to make a respectable 35% of these at decent volume.
He did hit a lot of long
shots
twos,
were
man.
really difficult, often scoring despite a large hand in his face.
Tough shots.
Videographers have sliced together edits of Jordan and Kobe making similar shots.
I've
But on this
watched that
one,
video.
Kobe's is way harder, going off of his wrong foot and double clutching before shooting.
That's super tough.
For my money, Bryant is
I am
the
airballing
best tough
that.
shot maker in league history, or certainly the most prolific. He'd
For sure.
regularly drill jumpers with a hand in his face and almost no airspace.
A contested
and
shot is
sometimes
like an
he'll
open
fire
shot
these
for him.
at
That's
all
how many
kinds of crazy
contested shots he be
angles.
hitting.
He's lost all momentum here, and his feet are actually
If he was open,
crossed when he jumps, but
it would be a
hey,
shocker.
no
Like
biggie.
he's rarely open.
We saw some of this feel with Larry Bird in episode 4. Subtle little adjustments to change the arc of a shot in a tight spot, and this concentration was especially prominent on the backside of his offensive peak at the end of the 2000s, where it was a touch harder to generate clean looks, so this shooting adaptability took over.
Tough.
He could just come to a stop and pump fake players into oblivion and then shoot without any momentum, which is crazy difficult. On many of these, he's jumping from a complete standstill to find just enough room to arc it in. And he could trap defenders with these up fakes, which helped boosted his free throw rates, especially during these peak seasons where he was slightly behind the all-timers, but still went to the line more than most players. He was also an early practitioner of the rip-through move. As we discussed in episode 8 with Hakeem Olajuwon, these difficult shot attempts helped Kobe's playoff scoring numbers compared to his regular season ones, because he could still generate moderately efficient shots almost on demand, even against stingier postseason defenses.
Word.
Of course, he could score with his back to the basket out of the post, where that balance and body control blended with his footwork
tough,
quite nicely. He pivots into a tough shot here, but he could just as easily swirl into the lane in the same situation. He went to his post-game a bit more by the end of the 2000s, and he was sturdy enough to bang into little turnarounds, or even use the threat of his fadeaway to set up defenders for the old up and under.
That's a good step.
In a sense, Kobe and Shaq were scoring opposites. O'Neal dominated with incredibly high percentage shots, whereas Bryant couldn't quite assault the rim with the same frequency, so he propped up his scoring with versatility and resilient shot making.
Heard you.
But if there's one thing we've seen throughout this series, it's that scoring alone doesn't make someone a great player.
Right.
But what I'm seeing is an opportunity to really demolish the spirit of their team by attacking Carmelo offensively. After watching this game, I was really, really upset with myself. I don't see Trevor sitting over there on the wing. Trevor's arms, after the shot goes up, he didn't pass it to me. Damn it.
In the 2008 finals, the Celtics' suffocating defensive scheme defanged Bryant, clogging his driving lanes and inviting him to take jumpers. The Celtics overloaded his side when he had possession, and this kind of early rotation would have been illegal defense in the 80s or 90s, yet it was a strategic departure from what other high-end teams tried against the Lakers during their deep playoff runs. For instance, in the 09 finals, Orlando played these driving lanes straight up, relying on rotations after Kobe penetrated. Without a lightning-quick first step to escape these gambits, or great size to pressure the rim, the Celtics held Kobe to 51% true shooting and shaved 5 points off his 2008 and 2009 playoff scoring, a good reminder that playoff matchups can heavily influence numbers. Boston also banked on Kobe looking to score in some of these tight spots instead of repeatedly passing, the exact point Kobe discussed in that clip against Denver when he missed the kick out to Trevor Ariza. Here he's covered by a bigger man and forces a tough fadeaway into a packed paint instead of kicking it out to a good shooter. Much like we saw in episode 6 with Michael Jordan, Kobe was always a little over-calibrated towards shooting versus playmaking.
Right.
Here he has 2 corner options when Phoenix collapses into the paint, but probes for an extra beat and it's a turnover. I don't think this small imbalance chipped away at too much value because Kobe could make some of these double-team shots.
That's the craziest
and the rest
thing,
of the
for
time
real.
he was looking to punish defenses who loaded up on his scoring like this by finding open teammates.
Right.
He was tactical and often patient about getting opponents to commit to then free up a shooter. As that Nuggets series progressed in 2009, whenever Denver slid a defender down to spy on him, he opted for the kickout pass more and more. The year before against the Celtics, there were certainly moments where he missed early passing chances as he hunted for scoring angles that didn't end all that well. Yet, even in that series, he made plenty of early reads. A defender is slid way over into his driving lane here, so he shuffles it to the open shooter. Kobe was known for his studiousness, and he could certainly read and react to how teams shifted toward him in order to generate easy shots for his bandmates. Yes, he shot into plenty of double teams, but he dissected a ton as well. Boston sends help, and these 2 defenders are covering 3 Lakers, and Kobe threads a dart into the lane for free throws against the clock. Kobe grew up idolizing Magic Johnson, and while he wasn't his equal, he dropped some gorgeous dimes from time to time.
Yeah.
Or would-be dimes. Some of these passes in dynamic, non-traditional situations demonstrated a strong ability to map the court, and his athleticism helped with a variety of passing deliveries. Here he feels the help in the air, looks for his big man, and just tries to slap it in his direction. Most of his best passes were to big men like this. There's that patience to wait for help to leave Pau Gasol, and this one takes even sharper vision, finding the rim runner with a jump pass to the front of the cylinder. Over the course of his career, Kobe's best, most consistent pass was probably the laydown, something he always had great feel for. Occasionally he'd shoot in these spots, but if he sensed a defender coming over on a drive, he'd usually hone in on his open big man. Here he spots a teammate on the backside, maybe the perfect pass arrives now, but Kobe knows if he collapses the zone, an easier angle will emerge, so he airdrops it over for the layup. And hey, Walton's back. Sort of. Where were we? Laydowns?
Yo, what's up with Walton, bro?
Was able to deliver at a variety of angles, depending on the situation. Going with a soft lefty lob here after being corralled on his drive. The other option in those spots was the kick out, where if defenders pinched down from the perimeter, he could spray it back out for three-point practice. After two hesitation moves, he runs into a wall here, but since the guard sinks in to help on Gasol, the kick out becomes the weakness to exploit. Using our best estimates, Kobe created plenty of shots like this for teammates, ranking behind only Jordan, James Harden, LeBron James, and Tracy McGrady among non-point guards. Point guard is sort of a misnomer here, since these are all lead guards spearheading the entire offense as dual threats. For instance, Kobe ran plenty of spread pick and roll. Notice all the extra space compared to prior episodes, and he could score or play make out of this action.
True.
He didn't really have an ideal pick and roll partner before Gasol, although Andrew Bynum's emergence as a role threat provided a little chemistry in 2007. When Pau did arrive in 08, Kobe ran the two-man game with him more frequently, and he could pop or roll comfortably next to Bryant. There's a little manipulation from Kobe by using the no-look pass to hold the defender. That one didn't always work, but it shows the capacity for higher-level ideas. He could also make the little pocket pass. This one is delayed until the big commits to Kobe, and then he threads the needle beautifully. And while he didn't anticipate tons of passes, he could drop wonderful dimes after reacting to the defense. The big man contests, so he audibles by bouncing it through a tight window.
That's a nice pass.
The Kobe Pau pick and roll was a nasty option to fall back on late in a possession. That look-away technique holds the help defense. This time it's successful, and Pau could pass off the roll too. On this one, the defense sits on Gasol's roll, so Kobe whips it to Lamar Odom, who makes the extra pass, and both Laker big men could pass or finish in these spots. 2008 was a huge upgrade in roster construction from prior seasons, where mediocre shooters and passers flanked Kobe, Lamar, and utility big men. Odom was always able to create some offense and act as a secondary playmaker next to Kobe, but Gasol took the Lakers to another level with his diverse offensive package. His post-game made him an all-NBA level player, stocked with a full pantry of post moves that includes soft touches with his right and left hand around the basket. And after his arrival, the Lakers' offense exploded. From 2008 to 2010, LA's playoff efficiency was about 6.5 points better than what their opponents allowed in the regular season. Since Kobe's offense slowed down a bit, chopping off 2010 might better capture this team at its brief peak, a fantastic stretch that was a rung down from the all-time greats. There were a few holes in Kobe's passing game. He was willing to try tight passes. This one is picked off, but it's also a delivery issue where if he doesn't throw it higher, he needs to throw it earlier or with a different delivery angle altogether. He didn't really whip fastballs off the dribble at different angles like some players. And instead, he often tried some of these tight squeezes while in the air in lieu of shooting. These all might be audibles out of shots, but I wonder if he went to the jump pass because he wasn't that big. Size could bother him on traps and lead to some blind spots. We saw the much taller Lamar Odom make this exact pass a second ago, and Kobe was inconsistent about hitting the roll man on this action when the defending big man jumped him hard. He also missed some straightforward passes. That's there for the taking, and in my study, he mostly seemed to miss wings and smalls in these home run situations. So while he had some limitations as a passer, his playmaking was an enormous part of his offensive attack, but his offense wasn't nearly as polarizing as his controversial defense.
Heard you.
Bryant's size was also a small factor on the defensive end. For instance, he had mixed results holding down the fort against bigger, stronger players in the post. There are some plays where the engagement isn't entirely there, and then others where he battles hard with more success. Similarly, Kobe wasn't much of a vertical presence around the basket. When he was near the rim, he often went to a swipe down move, and sometimes these connected beautifully and did the trick.
Right.
On occasion, he'd turn a running start into a highlight block, but these high leverage plays were less common. Kobe averaged a block every other game during these years and only provided occasional rim protection as a guard. These rotations in the paint can provide tons of value for a wing, and Kobe could be floor bound on them, and he couldn't afford to arrive late in these spots. He should have rotated here once the double team arrived. Although in general, he was usually pretty buttoned up with most of his rotations, tagging the big man in pick and roll either from the baseline or elbow area. And this is a great sequence where he re-helps on the drive, then recognizes the corner is open and runs the shooter off the line. Unlike the facial he received a second ago, this time
I'm learning a lot, y'all. No cap. So if I'm not talking that much,
early on these rotations
I'm
is key for a wing versus a
I'm
big
really
man.
learning.
He can deter the pass or deflect it, but arrive a step later and he would swipe for the ball, and that's a foul. Around 2007, Bryant emerged as a vocal leader on defense. You can see him pointing on this play as LA switches a number of actions here, and this was in conjunction with the Lakers playing more complex schemes. They zoned up or switched the weak side constantly as the league adopted more pick and roll offense. Although these rotations weren't always super crisp, for example, he's a little late sliding here, and that leads to a desperate closeout.
I see.
In general, Kobe wasn't super active on the weak side like this, not making a ton of plays. That's sort of an errant gamble there. And when he staked out these situations, he was quite vulnerable to backdoor cuts. He was actually vulnerable to backdoors in general throughout his career, tracking the ball a bit too hard, and when zoning too, he took a somewhat extreme stance toward the ball handler and could idle a bit. And this responsibility is really about anticipation and effort. It's what made Larry Bird dangerous in these spots, and I'm not sure Kobe had the motor to go full tilt on plays like these and carry his enormous offensive load. Back on offense, tough. Bryant drained additional fuel by moving without the ball, regularly working for a better position in the post, and staying active in
that's
order to
exhausting, bro.
defenses.
That's exhausting.
When he was overplayed, he had a nice back cut himself to escape defenders, and he could comfortably flow into catch and shoot options in the mid-range. This meant he could fit well next to other high-level passers, but it also meant that he couldn't rest much on offense. So without an all-time motor, Kobe couldn't go full throttle on defense for 40 minutes as well.
Yeah, that's tough.
Here he lapses for just a moment and loses contact with Ray Allen. They wisely switched him off Allen for the rest of the series after this. And while he could do solid work chasing players around, he wasn't ideal for this kind of task at this point in his career.
That stuff's hard.
He could get a bit stuck at times navigating around screens, especially against bigger screeners like this, although he was pretty good at dipping his shoulder around them and staying fairly connected to his man. His footwork in these spots wasn't always perfect, Big steps can make it tricky to bypass screens, but Kobe works hard to recover and stay in front of the ball here. He couldn't always bring this level of intensity. He kind of hops his way out of position against a dangerous pull-up three-point shooter here, although when he did go all out, he could provide good point-of-attack defense.
Okay.
And this on-ball defense is what kept him on all defensive teams long after his defensive peak that we saw in the last episode. He was versatile guarding the perimeter, able to chip away a little at bigger forwards, and in particular, switch on to point guards. He had fairly quick feet and used angles and his size well. In their 2008 series, Kobe had successful moments against the lightning-quick Tony Parker, and here you'll notice he shades him left by design into the help. Bryant seems as studious and technical with his defense as he was with his offense, only he wasn't that disruptive as a defender, blowing up screening actions or flying into the lane to choke out advantages. This is a great bit of awareness in transition, sliding over to stop the ball, but plays like that were rare during these years, and Kobe's steal rate was around the 75th percentile historically, which was good but not great for a guard.
Persian.
As we've seen, he could attack the ball by pawing at it like this, although there were a number of plays where he was reaching for a steal, and that left him out of position. In a 2007 game, Phil Jackson said he had some riverboat gambler in him, and while I don't think he gambled nearly as much as someone like Jordan, he had his fair share of whiffs. He liked to shoot the gap, and this was also how he collected some of his steals, and those interceptions were more memorable and look great on highlight reels.
Right.
Kobe also had his fair share of blow-bys off the dribble against quicker guards, although some great defenders can be susceptible to breakdowns like this, so I don't think they chipped away at too much of his value. Impact metrics like adjusted plus-minus or PIPM tend to view him as around neutral on defense, and I think that's in the right ballpark given his lack of involvement in the paint and sporadic guarding of opposing lead guards. But despite his lack of a defensive motor, I think his understanding of schemes combined with his versatility to provide effective point-of-attack defense against three positions makes him a small positive on that end. The more interesting question is just how high were his offensive heights. He could be shot heavy at times, but his insane shot making provided a ton of resiliency in the playoffs. After all, the only defense to really slow him down during those years was the historically great Celtics. While most of his value came with the ball, his off-ball skills were strong enough to provide impact next to other high-level teammates. And so, while his defense might keep him from competing with the best of the very best, it's easy to see why so many people view Kobe Bryant as one of the best offensive players to ever grace the hardwood.
For sure. Hey, man. Shout out Ben Tiller for this video right here. And shout out Kobe Bryant, man. You know what I'm saying? Shout out Kobe Bryant. His skill level, him being a hard worker, him maximizing his efforts, his physical attributes, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? He did the very best he could. You know what I'm saying? He did the very best he could. And that's all you gotta ask for. You know what I'm saying? So Kobe Bryant's forever a legend. RP Kobe. And yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? Great vid. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed. You know what I'm saying? Make sure y'all stay well, stay blessed. Love you guys very much, man. Again, if you see some inconsistency, just know that I'm working in the background. You know what I'm saying? For better things to come. So yeah, man. Love you guys very much. Oh, shout out Nick Smith NBA, by the way. He commented a couple of days ago because we reacted to Nick Smith's compilation, Larry Bird's trash talking stories. So shout out to him for you know what I'm saying, showing love. So yeah, man. That's it. Peace.